All you guys out there running around town trying to attract women with your fragrance, trying to smell
sexy.
This video is about what makes it possible to do that. Now you can call this an inflated opinion, but I don't think I'm alone in this. It's definitely not a fact, it's not science or anything like that, not that I know of, but cardamom is one of the sexiest, most seductive ingredients. We're going to talk a little bit about what cardamom is and what might contribute to its effect on people. Now, unlike other ingredients we've already done videos in this series on, stuff like leather, stuff like tobacco, cardamom is no stranger to the mainstream realm. It is very easily at the forefront of many designer fragrances, again, because of the effect it can have, because it is very accessible, it's very approachable, and not only that, it's very seductive. So naturally, designer brands are going to use it in overdose in their own fragrances. It's not something you have to delve into niche to discover. Nonetheless, it can still be done in some interesting ways. Now, cardamom is a spice, and it comes from a plant that's known as green cardamom. This plant grows best in tropical rainforest environments, and it's native to countries like India and Sri Lanka, but it can also be found in Tanzania, Vietnam, Cambodia, and especially Guatemala. Did I say that right? Now, this plant produces flowers, and each flower contains a capsule fruit. Inside of these fruits, you're going to find anywhere from 10 to 20 little black seeds. They're aromatic seeds, and that is where we get the cardamom spice. Now, the odor profile of cardamom is known to be very distinctive. Aromatic, spicy, almost like a black peppery spice, sweet a little bit, maybe even a little resinous depending on how it's used. Some people say it's reminiscent of the smell of baking a crisp green apple pie. Somehow it can be comforting and seductive. Obviously, it's used not just in fragrance, but it's also consumed. It is an edible. It is used in tea and coffee, and the list goes on. It has a wide use, and there's a reason why it's so heavily loved by so many people. I believe that because it carries a natural freshness, that aromatic quality, it's a cooling spice mixed with a little bit of sweetness, has a touch of a rich quality to it, and I think that balance is what draws people in. If you think about some of the most successful modern fragrances on the market, the ones that are kind of following the trends and being sold a lot, they tend to have this balance of fresh and sweet. You can chalk it up so many different ways, and they achieve it in different ways, but when you really look at it, you'll see that across the board. Not all of them, of course, but many of them. They're fresh and sweet. If you throw some spice in there, even better. So cardamom by itself has at least those three elements. I think that's what really helps make it so attractive. So as we typically do, I've chosen 9 fragrances to present to you. Well, technically 12, but 3 honorable mentions. I've divided the core 9 fragrances up into 3 different categories of accessibility. We have the starting category, those who are brand new to fragrance, who have not done a ton of research into ingredients, don't have a lot of experience smelling different things, and they're still getting their nose accustomed to what makes a fragrance smell the way it does. We have the intrigued category. We have those who are already doing the research. They are intrigued. They're buying samples of niche fragrances. They're becoming more interested in more interesting fragrances. And we have the enthusiast level. I think it goes without saying, you've been here a while, you are refining your tastes, you are looking for new scent experiences. And I have a few fragrances in each category to recommend to all of you, no matter where you are in your journey. Maybe you're straddling categories, doesn't really matter, but hopefully at least one fragrance in this video will speak to you. So let's dive right into it. Let's start with our honorable mentions. As I like to do, I reserve this spot for the obvious ones. Fragrances that you would expect to see in a certain category. Again, cardamom is very widely used, so mainstream fragrances, no stranger to it. So obviously stuff like La Nuit de l'Homme. I know all of you guys, even if you don't really know exactly what cardamom smells like, you've probably smelled this. You can pick it out amongst smelling other fragrances blindly. You would know what La Nuit de l'Homme smells like. It is an iconic scent profile, and it uses cardamom at the face of it, giving it that fresh, sweet spiciness mixed with a little bit of lavender to make it even more fresh. I think the cardamom in here gives it a bit of a cakey feel. It's thicker than you would expect. At least for me, it's almost delicious smelling in a way, but still spicy and fresh and very seductive. Current formulations, maybe not so great, but they still get the point across. We have this one. Some people may not call it mainstream because it does technically come from a luxury brand, but I think it's mainstream because it was kind of intended to appeal to as many people as possible. And it carries that vibe. It carries a bit of a designer appeal, but it does not smell super basic. It does smell of a higher quality. Layton from Parfum de Marly, known as a very sexy fragrance. Honestly, one of my most complimented fragrances. I do really enjoy Layton, and I always have. And in addition to geranium and lavender and vanilla and maybe even some apple, this does carry quite a bit of cardamom in it, giving that seductive edge. Something about it when it's caught in the air just draws people in. And this fragrance from Dior, honestly, this was almost going to be in the core list and it was going to be in the intrigue category. I was going to put it in the middle level because it's not the most accessible to everyone. There's something about this fragrance that does turn some people off. It's a little bit polarizing. We're talking about Sauvage Elixir. I do enjoy this. It is my favorite flanker in the line. It provides the most personality and depth, and it does feature a good dose of cardamom in addition to other spices. But cardamom, I think, adds a little bit of the seductive edge here, although this is still a bit on the more refined side of things, but what I'd call nighttime refined. I would wear this on a night out when I'm dressed smartly, when I'm dressed in dark colors, when I want to appear elegant, but with a hint of a seductive edge. This is a great way to go. A little bit mature, but that cardamom makes it pretty dang sexy. But it's not for everyone because it is a bit mature. All right, let's get into our first category. Starting, this first one up comes from an indie house called Dasein, and beautiful transportive fragrance. All their fragrances are. They take you somewhere. They give you a scent experience, but they're very easy to wrap your nose around. This one is kind of a cult classic. Features heavy cardamom, but more in the comforting way, not the sexiest way, because it is combined with some more outdoor elements. Stuff like pine, and there's a coniferous feel to it. There's a woody feel to it. It almost has a cardamom tea vibe, but it's like out in the forest in the early morning with the crisp, cool air. This is called Winter. And this is a beautiful fragrance, like I said, very transportive, lots of cardamom here, but in a zingy type of feel. This is more early morning, calming, grounding yourself type of cardamom, more so than the sexy, flirty, seductive cardamom. But you get it through and through. This is a great fragrance to discover a little bit more of what natural cardamom could smell like. It's used very naturally here. Do check out Dasein Winter. I think they have samples for sale. I'm going to link down below. Hopefully they do. Here's one from Killian. Wow. This is unofficially known as the niche version of Mugler Amen, the original Amen. I get that vibe. You get coffee, yes, but the cardamom in here is so sexy and seductive. It's very fresh, spicy, but that coffee really warms it up, adds a beautiful duality, makes it smell a little bit delicious, but not outright gourmand, but beautiful stuff here. This is Intoxicated. I've basically already described it completely, so I don't think I need to say anything more, but lovely fragrance, has a bit of a simplicity to it, but not basic. Do check out Intoxicated. I'm going to link down below to a sample. And the final one in our starting category, making its debut on the channel. This one comes from Carner, Barcelona, maybe not one from their house that you see a lot of talk. This is Rima 11, I believe, if I know my Roman numerals correctly. It's both fresh spicy and warm spicy. Kind of similar to the Killian, not in terms of scent, but in terms of sentiment. It does carry a freshness and aromatic quality from that cardamom, a little bit of a sweetness, but it also has a warm, spicy quality as well. And that comes from cinnamon. I love cinnamon and cardamom working together. Also quite a bit of nutmeg. And it dries down to a creamy, sweet, ambery vanilla and woody sandalwood base that is very delectable, very attractive. It's just an attractive fragrance. It's easy to wear, but it smells a little different. It's not going to smell like everything else. The blend is beautiful. It doesn't project like crazy, not a super strong fragrance, but I think the presence that it has around you, there's something confident about it. There's something calming about it, but also something a little bit unique. So it's approachable, but different. Rima 11 from Carner, Barcelona. And now for the intrigued category. First one up here is coming from BDK Parfums, and they call this Gris Charnel Extrait. This is a flanker to the original Gris Charnel, which is essentially constructed in the same way as this, except more top heavy, whereas this is more bottom heavy. So the original also does contain cardamom, but I think the cardamom plays a more seductive role here. The original Gris Charnel is a little bit more happy, I would say. Not the most seductive fragrance. It's something that you could wear every day as an uplifting scent. And it's a little bit calming, but this brings a darker edge. The bottle suits it perfectly. A little bit warmer, spicier here. Not quite fresh cardamom here. Again, warmer, a little sweet, and combined with fruity fig, combined with tea, combined with a beautiful dusty sandalwood, and kind of creamy and sweet all together. It's a gorgeous blend. It's quite a unique profile. Also quite strong and quite seductive. I definitely prefer this for the nighttime when it comes to an elegant cardamom fragrance. That is Gris Charnel Extrait. Up next is a staple on the channel. I find it to be incredibly approachable and incredibly seductive, but it is a little bit polarizing, which is why it's here in the intrigued category. This is coming from Enclave, and they call it Dasein Toxic. I've spoken about it so much for a reason. I call it Layton's older, sexier cousin. Features a lot of black currant, so it's a dark, juicy, fruity quality rather than the bright, fruity quality of the apple and Layton. It also does feature quite a bit of a fresh, spicy cardamom that's a little bit sweet. Very, very seductive, especially in the air. But this one has a deeper base of resins and also some cannabis in there. A slightly sour, pungent, earthy green smell that really just adds to the seductive quality, makes it a little bit edgier, and I think makes it a little bit less youthful, but still very playful if you happen to be a little bit more mature. Love this stuff. Always have since first sniff. Blew me away and will always be on the channel. That is Enclave Dasein Toxic. Final one for the intrigue category. This was sent to me by my friends at FragBuy House. This was the first fragrance I requested from them when we started working together. I didn't have a lot of experience with this house, but I was intrigued. I saw some great reviews. I picked it up from them and was blown away. Beautiful blend. Reminds me a little bit of another fragrance I own in my collection called Dolce Di Giorno from Boyce 1920, but quite different enough, especially as it dries. This is from Lark, and they call this Argentium. This opens with cardamom and orange. Fresh, spicy, sweet, juicy, zingy citrus. Mouth-watering in a way, but immediately backed by this darker, almost like ambery woody feel. You have oud in here, you have amberwood, which is ambery and woody. It is a synthetic ingredient. A little bit of musk, a little bit of sandalwood. I mostly get some slightly medicinal oud, but really smoothed over, made sweet, spicy, fresh, and approachable by the cardamom and orange. And as it dries, it gets warmer and warmer and warmer. That cardamom does end up fading. It doesn't stay there for the life of the scent. It's a beautiful, fresh, spicy, but warm, almost ambery, woody fragrance that's quite sophisticated, but still a little seductive. Lark Argentium. Check it out. And remember, you can use that code down in the description to save some money. All right, we are into our enthusiast category. These are not going to be accessible for everyone, but this first one I'm going to talk about is probably the most accessible of the three in this category. Definitely the most well-known as well. This is coming from Memo, and the name is going to throw you off a bit. This is African Leather. Honestly, in my experience of wearing this fragrance over the past couple years, to me, this is more of a cardamom fragrance than it is leather. I've always said that. Leather is kind of at the heart as a glue holding things together in a beautiful blend. But what really pops on the face of this is that cardamom, giving that strong, kind of seductive edge. The cardamom is made a little bit more bitter in here, but still almost sweet resinous with that leathery vibe. Not animalic leather, even by the name and by the bottle here. It's not animalic. It's quite smooth, but it is potent. It is strong stuff. It will get your attention. Smells very elegant. I reserve this for nighttime wear in the cool months when I want to convey a more sophisticated vibe, but one that is kind of sexy. That's African Leather. I know a lot of you guys have tried this one. Let me know if you have. And if you have not, we're going to have links down below to try it. This next fragrance is from Sauvage. It is a little bit more of a mint fragrance along with other ingredients like labdanum, patchouli, cinnamon, other spices and things like that. Not for everyone. I was surprised because when I first tried this, I thought it was incredible, but I was surprised to see people saying how polarizing it was, how some people say it smelled like an ashtray to them. To me, this is a beautiful blend that has a gorgeous transformation on the skin. This is Enclave. Again, very minty, kind of a spicy minty feel, almost like a peppermint, quite authentic smelling, and lots of cool, fresh, spicy cardamom. And it blends so beautifully with that mint. Mint by itself is not the sexiest note. Very uplifting, very appealing, but not sexy. I think the cardamom is what adds that vibe, especially in the air. It creates a hold to the scent. It creates an interest to the scent. And as it dries down, it gets a little bit more resinous, smoky, leathery. Labdanum can definitely bring that. Transforms from cool to warm quite a bit. Strong fragrance, robust personality, quite elegant as you would expect from Sauvage. Again, not for everyone. That's why it's here in the enthusiast category. That's Sauvage Enclave. Sample first. And our final fragrance is a designer scent. Yes, in the core list, the only designer fragrance here made it into the enthusiast category. What could it be? Designers aren't known to be edgy. Well, this one is. This is from Cartier. This is Declaration Parfum. I've spoke praises of this for a couple years now. I've loved it ever since I first got it. It was a total blind buy for me. I had already had the original. I had the D'un Soir Flanker, which also has some cardamom in there, but features more black pepper than cardamom. And this one I had to get. This is a perfect flanker. Oh my gosh. Not easy on the nose for everyone, I would say. This is that original DNA. Fresh, spicy, bitter orange. Cardamom here is definitely behaving in the air, adding a bit of a seductive edge, making it feel a little bit more modern and not terribly mature. But you do have a bit of cumin in here, and that cumin kind of takes over a bit. It adds a very distinctive, almost BO feel to the scent. Some people say it smells a little sweaty. I see what they mean, but it does not smell like outright sweat here. This whole fresh, spicy, bitter orange vibe is made ambery, a little sweet, a little bit resinous, and quite leathery by its base. This is elegant stuff. This is not for the faint of heart. This is for a gentleman who doesn't really care about the thrills or the frills of people saying they smell good. You're confident. You wear it for you. You have a standard of excellence when it comes to the way you carry yourself and the way you treat people. This is who I see wearing this fragrance. If you hang around the right crowd and you dress well, I think this will be liked. This is Declaration Parfum from Cartier. All right, that's going to do it for me. I want to know what you think. Have you tried any of these fragrances? Do you have any favorites when it comes to cardamom? Maybe some I didn't talk about. I know there's a lot, so obviously there will be some I didn't talk about. Let's talk about it down in the comments. Again, links to every fragrance will be down in the description. And thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.